Hey, and welcome back to Bain's Bites. I'm Bain. So it's fall, y'all. But I was challenged recently, and I know the weather's been cooling, and I love this weather. I've been watching football and baseball, and families coming up, holidays are coming up, life is good. I was challenged to make some ribs, but make them a different way. Now, some people say pecan, and you can, but please don't. They're called pecans. We're down in the South. We're making some pecan pie smoked barbecue ribs today. I know that sounds a little bit weird, but let's get started and I'll show you what we're gonna do. So to make these pecan pie smoked barbecue ribs, we're gonna be layering them with all kinds of good pecan stuff. I love meat church barbecue. I love a good pun. I love a good joke. I don't really have to say much about this one, but it's a good pecan rub. It's sweet. It's got a little savory. It's a really good rub. It definitely has a good nutty taste. We're gonna start by just rubbing these down front and back with some of the, I don't even know if I wanna say it. We're gonna put a good rub layer on here with this meat church seasoning. Let them sit. I'm gonna go out and turn the Traeger on, get it up to 250 degrees, let this rub kind of soak in. Then we'll put them on there for 2 or 3 hours. We'll come back in, I'll show you the next step. Use one hand to hold the rub and the other hand to make sure I can get this patted in real good. And we'll flip these over and we'll hit the back side. I already pulled the membrane off and did just a little bit of trimming to clean them up, but you can trim them or take the membrane off or leave it on if you like, whatever you like. Be sure not to cross-contaminate your bottle. Keep one hand for the meat and one hand for the rub. I like to hit my sides with the extra stuff in between. Make sure you get the ends. We'll flip them back over here, meat side up. Do the same thing with this one. You just want to get all sides good and coated. You can see that is already starting to soak in. You can see where I grabbed it, so I'm going to grab my bottle and do one more little coat on top. And these are going to sit out for about 10 or 15 minutes while I get the Traeger up to temp. Really let that good pecan seasoning adhere and stick to the meat. Make sure it's even. And there's our first layer. So we'll go get the Traeger fired up, we'll get them on, and I'll show you what we're going to do next. So the ribs are on the Traeger. I mixed up some apple juice and water, whatever kind of spray you want to use, no big deal. About every 10 minutes, I'm going to go out there and check them, kind of spray the edges, make sure they don't dry out too much. Again, I'll watch them for 2 or 3 hours until I get a good color on them. But like I said, the next step is going to be something different, especially when it comes to ribs. But these pecan pie ribs, we got some pecan barbecue sauce. I'm going to use a little bit of maple syrup, some brown sugar, a little bit of butter. And we're also going to make some homemade pecan butter, just like peanut butter. But we're gonna make them out of pecans. We're gonna toast some pecans, so I've got some right here. I get about 2 cups. I've got the oven at 375 degrees. We'll sprinkle these out. About that much. You can make as much or as little as you want. Once you cook it and cool it, it sits really well, but something different. So we're just gonna spread these out. I'm going to throw them in the oven at 375 degrees. I'm going to start watching them after about 4 minutes. I think it's going to take 5 to 7 or 8 minutes, not very long. Just going to toast them. Make sure you don't burn them. You can give them a shake every few minutes if you want. We're going to bring them out. We're going to cool them. I'm going to show you how you're going to turn them into some homemade pecan butter. So I just pulled the pecans out of the oven. They were in there for about 8 minutes. You could really start to notice they were perfectly toasted. They browned just a little bit, and the nose always knows when it hits you. And you can smell them, they smell extra nutty. You just smell that pecan I'm struggling with this one. When you can smell them and there's an extra good kind of nutty pecan smell in the air, you know they're ready. They're definitely not burned. So I'm gonna let them sit here and cool for about 10 or 15 minutes. Make sure they actually cool way down. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna put them into a food processor or a high-speed blender if that's what you have. And we're gonna pulse them on high. We're gonna run them for 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes. It kind of depends on your machine. But you'll see as they go, they'll go through some stages. They'll start to look like little tiny chopped pecans, and then they'll start to look a little softer. And eventually, after time, we'll stop and scrape the sides. We'll get them down till they really look like a creamy, good pecan butter, a good nut butter, right? So we're gonna add just a little bit of sea salt at the end and maybe a half a teaspoon, quarter teaspoon of vanilla. And that's it. We're gonna let these cool off. We'll get this mixed up. If it starts to overheat, take a break, let it calm down. Don't get this too hot while you're running it. And then we'll let this cool. Every 30 minutes, I got a mixture of apple juice and a little bit of water. I'm gonna go out and check the ribs. Got another 15 minutes before I go check them. We're gonna go check the ribs, spray them, just keep them good and moist, and then we'll go from there. All right, so we just pulled these pecan ribs off. They look great. They've got a great color. You can see that rub really set on there well. So what we're gonna do now is we've got our homemade pecan butter. I've got some Salt Lick honey pecan barbecue sauce. If you haven't seen the theme on these pecan pie ribs yet, I don't know what you're missing, but I'm gonna mix some of this barbecue sauce up with the pecan butter. I'm gonna warm it up in the microwave. I'm gonna take some brown sugar, put a line down. I've got 2 layers of heavy duty foil. We're gonna take the ribs and flip them meat side down right into all that goodness, wrap them up tight, we'll get them back on the Traeger to get them tender. So we're gonna take some brown sugar, lay it down here, about the size of the ribs themselves, but this is gonna be that sweet in the pecan pie. Now we'll take our barbecue sauce and pecan butter mixture and just kind of dollop it down, and as that butter melts, it'll all mix together. Now we'll take one of our racks of ribs, put it meat side down. I like to pull some of these little dark spots on the edge of the bones off just a little bit. We'll get rid of those, pretty it up. Now what I like to do is wrap both sides over and get a good tight wrap on them. Grab this one, follow that rib, tuck it in tight. Then I'll take my ends and fold them up over each side. And just like that, it's ready to go back on the Traeger. I'm gonna do the same thing with the other one, and we'll go put them back on, meat side down. All right, so the ribs just came off again. They've been on there for about an hour and a half. Let's pull one over and see how it looks. These look good. They smell amazing. They look great. They tempt right about 204, 205. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back out, flip them over meat side up, put them back on the Traeger. I'm gonna get some of our honey barbecue sauce and a little bit of fresh maple syrup. Mix those up, brush them on top, and glaze them for 10 or 15 minutes just so that glaze kind of sets, and we're gonna give them a try, see how we did. All right, that's it. It's been 15 minutes. They look great. The sauce is set. They look sticky and delicious. They smell sweet. They smell smoky. All it's left to do is give them a try. Nothing left to do but to see how these pecan pie ribs came out. Really good. Way different. You definitely get the sweet. You do get the pecan. That pecan butter's got almost like a little bit of a texture on it. Man, what a crazy way to surprise some friends during the fall or closer to Thanksgiving time. If you like what we're doing, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and keep your eyes out because we've got more fun stuff coming. And as always, y'all have a great day because I'm about to eat a bunch of some pecan pie barbecue ribs.